आ रहे हैं कि ये सूरत हाल जो वो पैदा हो जा रही है मजीद इस तरह से सूरत हाल।
It is June 1st, 2020. Australian reporter Amelia Brace and cameraman Tim Myers are broadcasting live for 7 News. They are standing near Lafayette Square in Washington, just across from the White House, covering the protests unfolding there. The crowd is large and tense, but the crew is focused on capturing what is happening in the street behind them. Amelia is mid-sentence when police advance toward the group of reporters positioned along the sidewalk. Officers move forward quickly. Tim's camera is rolling when one officer rushes past and strikes him with a shield.
Donald Trump is about to speak. It's getting a bit tense.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. We've just had to run about a block as police moved in. We've been fired at with rubber bullets. My cameraman has been hit. We've also seen tear gas being used. Here we go, they're moving through again. This is exactly what it looks like. Exactly what it looks like. We're just staying safely.
Oh.
Whoa. Oh.
Amelia, can you hear us?
Amelia, are you okay? Or your cameraman? Hello, Amelia. The police just charged at Amelia and our 7 News cameraman there, and looks like a policeman just punched our cameraman.
Which is interesting because they're not discriminating between protesters and the media here. Amelia, can you hear us yet?
Amelia, are you there?
You heard us.
Are you okay?
Yes, I am. You heard us yelling there that we were media, but they don't care. They're being indiscriminate at the moment. They chased us down that street, and as you see, they were firing these rubber bullets at everyone. There is tear gas, and now we are really surrounded by the police, and you really saw the way that they dealt with my cameraman Tim. They're quite violent, and they do not care who they're targeting at the moment.
The lens jerks hard as the impact hits, and Amelia turns toward Tim just as another officer swings a baton in her direction. Amelia is heard saying they are media as she tries to move back. It is the morning of February 28, 1997. 2 men, heavily armed and wearing homemade body armor, walk into a Bank of America branch in North Hollywood, Los Angeles. Each carries a rifle and multiple magazines. They have drum and box magazines taped together for quick reloads. Inside the bank, they force employees and customers to the ground. They fire into the ceiling and walls to show they're serious. The robbery itself is fast. They empty cash from the tills and the vault area, but much of the money is fitted with dye packs that will later explode. Outside, patrol officers are already arriving. A 911 call went out while the robbery was still in progress. Marked units take positions around the parking lot and nearby streets, waiting for the suspects to come out. The 2 gunmen exit the bank and step into a perimeter of police cars. They immediately open fire with automatic weapons, rounds striking vehicles, trees, walls, and officers taking cover. Their rifles punch through car doors and cinder block. Officers return fire with pistols and shotguns. Many of their rounds hit the suspect's armor and do little to slow them. The gunmen keep moving, firing as they walk, spraying long bursts up and down the street. One of the robbers moves toward a getaway car. As he backs up, he continues shooting at officers across the intersection. A patrol unit is hit. Several officers are wounded by rifle fire and shrapnel. The other robber advances along the street on foot. He uses parked cars for cover, firing repeatedly at officers trying to flank him. Some shots strike civilians and passing vehicles. The area turns into an active combat zone, stretching several blocks. With officers outgunned, some respond by obtaining rifles from a nearby gun store. They return with higher-powered weapons and begin engaging the suspects from longer distances, aiming for unprotected areas like legs and arms. One gunman is eventually hit multiple times in the legs. Bleeding heavily, he falls beside a car and continues firing from the ground until he can no longer move. Police close in and secure his weapon. He dies at the scene. The second gunman attempts to escape in a car. He drives a short distance while still exchanging fire with pursuing officers, then abandons the vehicle after it's disabled. He takes cover behind it and continues the shootout on foot. Officers concentrate fire on him as he tries to relocate. He is struck repeatedly in the lower body. Surrounded and unable to stand, he is disarmed and taken into custody. He also dies from his wounds. By the end of the incident, both robbers are dead. No officers are killed, but numerous police and civilians are injured. The streets are littered with spent casings, damaged cars, and shattered glass. In the aftermath, departments across the United States review their equipment. The shootout becomes a key example in the push to arm patrol officers with rifles and better protective gear to avoid being outmatched in future confrontations. It is March 16th, 2023. On the set of Lo Sé Todo in Colombia, the hosts are seated at the studio desk during a normal entertainment segment. Elianis Garrido is next to her co-host, talking through the day's topics. Partway through the segment, she starts to feel unwell. She coughs and brings a hand to her face, clearly uncomfortable. She shifts in her chair as if she's trying to step away from the conversation for a moment and move out of the main shot. As she tries to stand, her body doesn't respond the way it should. She turns slightly, begins to rise from the chair, and then suddenly loses strength. In a matter of seconds, she collapses and falls to the studio floor beside the desk.
Ese tipo de credo lo hace pensar a uno, ¿será que estamos en los tiempos finales? Vamos a ir a un corte, ya, por favor, regresamos, ya regresamos.
Her co-host reacts immediately. The people on set realize something is wrong and call for a pause in the program so she can be helped. Production staff and medical personnel move in to check on her and take her out of the studio for proper attention. She is taken to a medical center for evaluation. After being examined, she is advised to rest and step away from the show for a short period while she recovers from the health issue that caused the fainting spell. Days later, Elianis explains to her audience that the episode was related to a respiratory illness she had not fully treated. She thanks viewers for their concern and confirms that she is feeling better. The incident becomes a reminder that even on a bright, entertainment-focused set, presenters are still dealing with real health limits behind the scenes. It is March 17, 2012. Tottenham Hotspur are playing Bolton Wanderers in an FA Cup quarter-final at White Hart Lane. The first half is open and competitive, and the score is 1-1 as the game moves toward halftime. In the 41st minute, something goes wrong that has nothing to do with the ball. Bolton midfielder Fabrice Muamba, just 23 years old, suddenly falls to the ground near the center of the pitch. There is no tackle, no collision. He simply collapses where he is standing. Players react immediately. Teammates and opponents signal urgently for help. Referee Howard Webb stops the match and gestures for the medical teams to come on as quickly as possible. Doctors and physios from both clubs run onto the field. They reach Muamba and begin treatment on the grass. It becomes clear almost at once that this is a serious medical emergency, not a routine injury. CPR is started on the pitch. Medics work over him for many minutes, using chest compressions and a defibrillator in repeated cycles. Additional staff join from the stands and tunnel area to assist with equipment and support. After prolonged efforts on the field, he is moved from the pitch. Still receiving care, Muamba is taken along the touchline and into the tunnel. The stadium is quiet, with players and supporters watching in concern as he is transferred toward an ambulance. The match does not resume. Officials inform both teams that the game is being abandoned. Players leave the field, and attention shifts entirely to Muamba's condition and the work of the medical staff and hospital team. Later, doctors explain just how serious the situation was. They say Muamba's heart did not beat on its own for around 78 minutes, and that he received many rounds of advanced treatment before normal rhythm was restored. Over the weeks that follow, he makes a remarkable recovery. He wakes, speaks with family and teammates, and eventually leaves hospital with an implanted device to protect his heart. Months later, on medical advice, he announces his retirement from professional football. It's January 19th, 2022. Late at night in Dunbar, West Virginia, a water main has broken near an apartment complex. The pavement is wet, and temperatures are low enough that patches of ice are possible around the area. Reporter Tori Yorgi is there with her gear. She stands near the street by the Roxalana Hills apartments, ready to talk about the break and the conditions in the neighborhood. Cars pass behind her as she works, moving through the dark, slick roadway. As she prepares to speak, a vehicle approaches from behind. A light-colored SUV or pickup comes along the road and gets too close to where she is standing near the edge of the street.
Tori Yorgi joins us now live in Dunbar. And Tori, they're not seeing any flakes, but wet roads. And now we're starting to experience, unfortunately, in freeze-thaw, we see this, water main breaks.
Got hit by a car, but I'm okay. I just got hit by a car, but I'm okay, Tim.
That's the first for you on TV, Tori.
Woo!
The vehicle makes contact and knocks her off her feet. Tori and her equipment are thrown to the ground. The impact sends her down, and the camera and lights tumble with her. For a moment, everything around her is confusion and noise. The driver stops immediately. A woman gets out and checks on her, asking if she is okay. Tori gets back to her feet, reassures the driver, and lets her know that she is all right enough to stand and speak. Despite the shock, Tori continues
so sweet
working.
And you are okay. It is all good. You know, oh Lord.
So you
know, it's my last week on the job, and I think this would happen.
So you were bumped
specifically
in,
to me, Tim.
Were you bumped down low, Tori, or were you hit up high? I couldn't really tell from looking.
Oh, I don't even. Do you know if I was bumped down low or up high, sir?
I just saw you disappear.
I don't even know. I don't even know, Tim. My whole life just flashed before my eyes. She didn't mean to. It was an accident. I know it was, and I'm okay. Everything's fine.
She steadies herself, regroups, and finishes talking about the water main break and the conditions in Dunbar before leaving the scene to be evaluated. Later, she is taken to a hospital for a checkup. She reports feeling sore but has no broken bones or major injuries. The incident is treated as an accident in icy conditions, and the clip of what happened spreads widely as an example of how quickly a simple field assignment can change in a single second. It is January 9th, 2024. In Guayaquil, Ecuador, tension is already high. A powerful gang leader has recently escaped custody, and a wave of violent incidents has pushed the government into a national state of emergency. Around midday, a news program is underway at TC Television. Journalists and technicians are at their posts in the studio, doing what they do every day, reading headlines, managing audio and cameras, and guiding viewers through the latest developments. Suddenly, the routine inside the building is broken. A group of masked men, dressed mostly in dark clothing and carrying long weapons, move into the TC Television facilities. They make their way to the news set while the program is still in progress. They enter the studio and take control of the room. Staff members are forced down to the floor or into positions where their hands are visible. Some of the intruders display what they say are explosive devices and shout warnings, demanding that no one interfere. Noise and confusion spread through the set. Raised voices echo in the studio. At least one round is fired, adding to the fear among the journalists and production crew lying on the ground. For a period of time, the attackers hold the people in the studio under direct threat. Outside, security forces respond. Police units and special teams move toward the TC Television building, surrounding the area and preparing to go inside. Their goal is to end the situation and bring everyone in the studio out safely. Officers enter the facilities and confront the intruders. They move through the building, reach the studio, and overpower the group that had taken control. The armed men are detained, and the staff are led out of the room. Several employees are hurt in the incident. One journalist suffers a leg injury, and another staff member has a broken arm. They are taken for medical care as the building is secured and searched. In the days that follow, authorities link the studio takeover to the broader struggle with criminal groups inside the country. The images from that day become a stark example of how Ecuador's internal conflict briefly reached directly into a national newsroom. It is mid-2025 in Pakistan's Punjab region. Days of heavy monsoon rain have turned roads and fields into rivers. Villages are surrounded by water, and entire stretches of land near dams and rivers are under deep, fast-moving floodwater. A television reporter steps into the water to show what people are facing. He wades out until the flood reaches his chest, then his neck. The current is strong, the water muddy, and debris drifts past as he tries to describe the situation around him.
छोटे बड़े बरसाती नदी नाले जो है वो आ गए, जिसकी वजह से कबायली इलाकों के रास्ते जो है वो मनक़ता हो गए। कबायली लोगों को सख्त मुश्किलात का सामना है। घरों को जाने वाले और शहरों को आने वाले कबायली लोग जो है वो फंस कर रह चुके हैं, क्योंकि बरसाती नदी नालों से जो है वो गुजरना बिल्कुल महाल हो चुका है। इस वक्त जो है सखी सरवर का एक बहुत बड़ा बरसाती नाला जो है वो आया हुआ है, तो यहाँ पर सूरत हाल इस तरह से कि वक्त के साथ साथ सखी सरवर के बरसाती नाले के
Soon, only his head and one arm are visible. He keeps his microphone above the surface as the water pushes against him. The flow tugs at his body, and it becomes harder for him to stay in one place.
आप आ गए तो आप हम भी इस कवरेज के लिए आ रहे थे, तो यहाँ पर सूरत हाल जो है वो इस तरह से होती है ताकि नाजरीन को बताया जा सके कि जब कबायली लोग जो है वो फंस जाते हैं तो इस तरह से सूरत हाल दरपेश आ जाती है। तो आप देख सकते हैं कि बरसाती नदी नालों से अगर गुजरना हो तो इस तरह की।
Then a stronger surge arrives. The current rises and shifts, and he loses his footing. For a moment, viewers see just his head and the mic, and then he disappears from view as the water overtakes the spot where he was standing.
आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ पर आगे भी बंदा जो है वो चला जाता है, तो हिफाजती तदबीर जो है वो इख्तियार करनी पड़ती है। तो हिफाजती इक़दाम जो है वो मुकम्मल किए जा रहे हैं और लोगों को इस हवाले से सख्त मुश्किलात का सामना है। हम भी जो है अपने नाज़रीन को लम्हा ब लम्हा जो है वो ये बताते जा रहे हैं कि ये सूरत हाल जो है वो पैदा हो जा रही है। मज़ीद इस तरह से सूरत हाल।
The clip quickly spreads online. Many headlines say that the reporter was swept away during a live broadcast near a dam in Rawalpindi, pointing to the dramatic way he vanished from the frame. Later, more information fills in what really happened. The reporter is identified as Ali Musa Raza from a regional channel, and he explains that he was not carried off downstream. He says he stepped back, his cable microphone disconnected, and the cameraman stopped recording, leaving only that sudden, alarming ending on screen. The moment still becomes one of the most striking images of that flood season. A single person standing in neck-deep water, fighting the current just to show how much of the landscape has turned into a moving river. It is March 9th, 2021. In a studio in Colombia, a football discussion show is underway. Several commentators sit side by side behind a curved desk, talking through the latest matches. Carlos Orduz is seated at one end of the table. Behind him, a tall LED wall is part of the set. The show continues as normal until, without warning, the section of the wall positioned behind Orduz begins to move. The structure gives way and tips forward toward the desk. The panel comes down directly onto his position. It falls over the back of his chair, hitting him from behind and forcing him forward onto the table. The impact is sudden and loud, catching everyone at the desk off guard. The other panelists react immediately. Several of them turn toward Orduz's side of the table, startled by the noise and the movement of the wall. Staff off camera move in to help as the program is halted. The broadcast does not continue with the discussion. The show is interrupted as the situation in the studio is handled. The focus shifts from football talk to making sure everyone, especially Orduz, is checked and cared for. Later, Carlos Orduz explains what happened. He says that he has only a bruise and a blow to the nose, with no fractures or lasting damage. He thanks viewers for their concern and confirms that he is okay. The incident circulates online as a reminder of how even a familiar studio environment can produce sudden, unexpected moments during a normal sports program. It is February 12th, 2021. Sports journalist Diego Ordinola is outside the Monumental Stadium in Guayaquil with his team. They're there to record a segment, standing near the street with the stadium in the background. During the shoot, a stranger approaches the group. He's wearing a mask and a cap. In his hand, he's carrying a small handgun, which he raises toward the reporter and the crew. The situation changes instantly. The man demands a phone and valuables. A member of the crew quickly hands over a mobile device. The group cooperates, keeping still while the man holds the weapon pointed in their direction. Once he has what he wants, the stranger moves away. He backs off from the team, still holding the handgun, and then turns and runs toward the street. A motorbike with another person waiting is nearby. He climbs onto the back of the motorbike and leaves the area. The bike pulls away quickly, disappearing into traffic. No one in the crew is physically harmed, but they have just experienced an armed theft in the middle of a normal workday. Later, the incident is reported to authorities. The video of what happened spreads widely, showing how suddenly a routine sports segment outside a stadium turned into a serious safety scare for a small TV team in Guayaquil. It is early morning on August 20th, 2019. A commuter bus leaves São Gonçalo and heads toward Rio de Janeiro, crossing the long Rio-Niterói Bridge over Guanabara Bay. Inside, passengers are half awake, thinking about work, classes, and the day ahead. Partway across the bridge, a young man stands up. He is 20 years old and carrying a handgun, along with bottles filled with fuel. He orders the driver to stop and position the bus sideways across the lanes, blocking traffic in both directions. The mood on board changes instantly. Passengers are told to stay in their seats. Some have their hands tied with plastic strips. The fuel bottles are hung inside the bus, and the man says he can set everything on fire if he chooses. On the bridge, traffic grinds to a halt. Cars and trucks stack up behind the stranded bus. The long span becomes a frozen line of vehicles while the authorities move in. Police cars and special units arrive and establish a perimeter around the scene. Negotiators begin talking to the man. Time passes in long, tense minutes. He allows some of the hostages to leave in small groups, first a few, then more, walking down the bridge toward safety as officers escort them away. The standoff stretches into hours. The bus remains stranded above the water, surrounded by armed police, with a shrinking number of passengers still inside. Every movement at the doorway and every shift inside the vehicle is watched carefully. A sniper from the Special Operations Unit takes a position. From a distance, he waits for a clear line of sight. On the bridge, the man steps partly out of the bus, close enough to the doorway that his upper body is exposed. When the opening appears, the sniper fires. Shots ring out, and the man collapses near the steps of the bus. Officers rush forward, move on to the vehicle, and guide the remaining hostages away. The siege is over. The hijacker does not survive his injuries. No passengers lose their lives in the incident, though many are shaken and need support after hours under threat on the bridge. Across Brazil, people have watched the entire standoff unfold in real time. A commuter bus turned into the center of a live hostage drama at rush hour, ending in a single moment when a sniper's decision brought 4 hours of tension to an abrupt close. It is the afternoon of April 15th, 1989. BBC's Grandstand switches to its live update from Hillsborough. The match between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest is underway.
To Sports Stadium. Let's join our commentator George Hamilton with Johnny Giles.
Thousands of Liverpool supporters are outside Hillsborough Stadium, funneling toward the Leppings Lane end. The crowd is heavy, the gates are tight, and pressure keeps building as kickoff approaches. Police open an exit gate to relieve the crush outside. Fans pour through the tunnel that leads directly to the central pens behind the goal. The pens already close to capacity. The flow doesn't slow. People keep moving forward with no room to spread out. Inside the pen, the pressure becomes unbearable. Supporters near the front are forced against the steel perimeter fences. Some raise their arms, trying to signal for help. Others attempt to climb the fencing to escape the crush behind them. The match has only just started when people begin collapsing. They are pinned, layered, and trapped with nowhere to go. Fans behind continue to be pushed forward by the weight of the crowd coming in from the tunnel. Players on the pitch notice the chaos. They see fans climbing fences, others waving desperately, and stewards running toward the terraces. The match is stopped as police and club staff rush to the end of the stadium where people are fighting to breathe. Supporters break down advertising boards and carry the injured toward the pitch. Others perform CPR on the grass. Stretchers are improvised from hoardings because there are not enough medical teams on hand for what's unfolding. Emergency services struggle to gain control. Some officers and fans work together to pull people over the fencing. Others search the penned areas for those who are unconscious. By the time the stadium begins to clear, dozens are dead and many more injured. In the months and years that follow, investigators confirm that overcrowding in the central pens and the uncontrolled flow of fans through the tunnel caused the fatal crush. The disaster leads to sweeping changes in British football. Standing terraces removed, stadiums redesigned, and safety standards rebuilt from the ground up. It is January 12, 2019. In Chico, California, emergency lights cover a quiet residential street. Police units, fire trucks, and ambulances are crowded around a single house where a mass overdose has turned a normal night into a major incident. KRCR reporter Megan Mackey is there to explain what happened. She is streaming live for her station, talking about the response and the number of people taken to the hospital. Behind her, tape and patrol cars mark off the home at the center of the call. The mood around her is tense. Friends, neighbors, and loved ones of the people inside are standing nearby, watching the scene and trying to process the news they are getting. Some are quiet, others are visibly upset. As Megan continues her live report, a woman moves toward her. The woman steps into the space between the camera and the reporter and starts shouting that the coverage is disrespectful. Her voice rises, and the tone quickly turns aggressive. The confrontation escalates in seconds.
Newscast on KRCR News Channel 7. I wanted to go ahead and provide you guys the latest information that we know so you guys can stay informed. So I'm currently on Santina Court in Chico, and this is where the incident occurred at approximately 9 o'clock this morning. Now I'm going to walk you over to what is happening now because I've actually learned some new information going on. So I'm going to take this. This is disrespectful. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? It's disrespectful. Get the out of here!
The woman closes the distance and shoves Megan. The impact knocks her off balance, and she falls as the phone and camera angle drop toward the ground. Megan screams as she goes down. A man nearby steps in, and voices overlap in the background as the live stream abruptly ends. For viewers watching on their phones, the last image is a tilted view of the pavement and scattered noise from the scene. Police at the location respond quickly. Officers move to separate the attacker from the reporter and bring the situation under control. Megan is helped up and checked over. She is badly shaken, but not seriously hurt. Later, she tells her audience that she is okay and thanks people for their messages. Her station confirms that she was frightened but unharmed and that the woman involved was taken into custody and later faced charges in court. It is the night of April 21st, 2018. In the coastal city of Bluefields, protests over government social security reforms have turned into days of tension. Streets that would normally be quiet at that hour are filled with police, protesters, and damage from earlier clashes. Journalist Angel Gahona is out in the middle of it. He holds his phone in one hand and a microphone in the other, streaming live from the street for his local news program. Around him, a small group follows at a distance as he walks toward a public building that has been hit during the unrest. At the entrance, a cash machine and glass are broken. Angel moves closer, aiming his camera at the damaged ATM and the shattered area around it. He talks calmly as he approaches, trying to show viewers exactly what has been left behind after the confrontation. Then a single shot rings out. There is no warning visible on screen. No sudden rush, no figure stepping into frame. Just the sharp sound of a gunshot cutting through the night.
Los jóvenes se están corriendo hacia el obelisco al ver la presencia policial aquí. Vamos a acercarnos nosotros hacia el daño que han hecho en la parte de enfrente de lo que es la entrada de la alcaldía de Bluefield. Esto es lo que se está viviendo en este momento en la alcaldía. Podemos ver la puerta y la pared de lo que es el cajero de Banpro total.
¡Ay, qué le pasó!
Angel drops where he stands. He falls forward near the damaged machine, and the phone angle goes with him. The image jolts and tilts as the people nearby shout and run toward him. The live stream captures only the first moments of the chaos. Voices overlap, some calling his name, others reacting to the sound and the shock. Feed ends, leaving only the knowledge that something serious has just happened. He does not recover from the wound. Later, it is confirmed that he died from the shot he received while working on that broadcast. The clip travels far beyond Bluefields, shared as one more example of how dangerous it had become to document what was happening on Nicaragua's streets. In the months and years that follow, questions about who fired and who is responsible do not fully go away. Rights groups and international bodies continue to call for a clear, reliable accounting of that night, when a local reporter walked toward a broken ATM to show the damage, and a single gunshot turned his own live report into the final record of his life. It is June 8th, 2025. In downtown Los Angeles, demonstrators are gathered near the Metropolitan Detention Center, protesting new immigration raids and planned mass removals. Sirens, chants, and loudspeaker orders mix together in the background. Australian correspondent Lauren Tomasi is on the street for 9 News. She faces the camera with a line of police behind her, explaining that officers and National Guard units have started to move in and that mounted units are helping push people out of the area. As she talks, the police line shifts. Officers advance through the smoke and noise, some on foot, some on horseback further back. Lauren keeps describing what viewers can't see off to the sides, one eye on the crowd and one on the crew. Then, behind her, one officer raises a launcher. He aims in her direction and fires.
Has now rapidly deteriorated. The LAPD moving in on horseback, firing rubber bullets at protesters, moving them on through the heart of LA.
You just shut the You okay?
I'm good. Where did it hit you? Just my leg, I'm good.
Fascists! Report that they're fascists! You're okay. You're not okay.
A less lethal round strikes her in the lower leg. She cries out, grabbing at her leg as the live cross suddenly turns from description into reaction. The camera jolts as the crew moves. They step sideways and back, trying to clear the immediate line of fire. Lauren can be heard saying she's okay, even as she limps out of the frame, putting distance between herself and the advancing line. Within moments, they are off the front edge of the confrontation. The shot changes and the broadcast moves on, but the footage of the on-air hit is already captured. A reporter doing a standard live update, struck by a crowd control round while police push forward around her. Later, 9 News confirms that she was bruised but not seriously hurt. It is January 2nd, 2023. Monday Night Football is in Cincinnati. The Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals are deep into a crucial late-season game with a packed stadium and a national TV audience watching every snap. Early in the first quarter, Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow drops back and finds T. Higgins over the middle. Higgins catches the ball, lowers his shoulder, and drives forward. Bills safety Damar Hamlin comes in to make the tackle, wrapping him up near midfield. To everyone watching, it looks like a solid, routine play. Damar stands up after the hit. He straightens for a moment, takes a step as if to reset for the next play, and then suddenly falls straight backward, landing flat on his back on the turf. There is no second collision. He just goes down and does not get up. Trainers and paramedics sprint onto the field. Within seconds, medical staff are at his side. Players from both teams back away at first to give them space, then slowly close in, watching in shock as the professionals realize this is not a standard injury. CPR begins at midfield. Chest compressions are started and continued for many minutes. An automated external defibrillator is used as the team works to restart his heart. The stadium falls nearly silent, with players kneeling or standing nearby, some turned away, others with hands on teammates' shoulders. An ambulance is driven onto the field. After about 10 minutes of on-field care, Hamlin is placed on a stretcher and moved into the vehicle, still receiving treatment. The ambulance leaves the stadium and heads to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, while his teammates surround and follow it as far as they can. The game does not continue. Players from both teams go to their locker rooms as the NFL and coaches confer. Soon, it is announced that play is suspended. The focus has shifted completely away from the scoreboard to the condition of one player whose life has just been in danger on live television. Overnight, the Bills confirmed that Hamlin suffered a cardiac arrest and that his heartbeat was restored on the field before he reached the hospital. In the days that follow, doctors say he is making remarkable progress. Months later, he explains that the episode was commotio cordis, a rare disruption of the heart's rhythm from a blow to the chest, and eventually returns to the NFL after a long recovery. For many viewers, that night becomes one of the most sobering moments ever seen in a football broadcast. A simple tackle, a player standing up, and then a collapse that turned a regular season game into a real-time fight to save a young man's life in front of an entire country. It is a hot April morning in 2024. Kolkata is under a severe heat wave, with temperatures already climbing even before noon. Inside Doordarshan's centrally air-conditioned office, the cooling system is struggling and the studio is warmer than usual. Newsreader Lopamudra Sinha takes her place at the desk. She begins a live bulletin focused on the weather emergency, reports on soaring temperatures, pressure on the power grid, and government advisories asking people to stay indoors and hydrated. For the first part of the bulletin, everything feels routine. She reads the first stories clearly, moving from one heatwave item to the next. The bulletin now reaches a segment dedicated to heat advisory guidelines, introduced by a short on-screen animation. While that animation is playing, everything changes. In that moment, her blood pressure drops and she blacks out. She collapses back in her chair, off camera. In the control room and on the studio floor, colleagues see her slump and rush to her side.
রবিবার পর্যন্ত দক্ষিণবঙ্গের 8টি জেলায় অতি তীব্র তাপপ্রবাহের সতর্কবার্তা জারি করেছে আবহাওয়া দপ্তর। আজ তাপমাত্রা গুরুত্ব দেওয়া উচিত।
সেটা হচ্ছে হাঁটুর বাত বা reenacted। তো প্রথমেই আপনার থেকে জানতে চাইবো এই হাঁটুর বাত বলতে আমরা কি বুঝি এবং কত রকমের এই হাঁটুর বাত।
হাঁটু একটা হাঁটুতে সেটা হচ্ছে অস্টিওআর্থ্রাইটিস, সেটা বয়সজনিত আর্থ্রাইটিস। একটু মাঝ বয়সে এবং বেশি বয়সে এটা হয় এবং এটা কি হয় হাঁটুর ভেতরে আমি একটা ছবি দেখাচ্ছি, সেটা হচ্ছে
ছবিটা দেখানো যায় দর্শক বন্ধুরা,
তাহলে আমাকে সুবিধা হবে বুঝতে। তো সেই ছবিটা হচ্ছে আপনি বাদিকের যে ছবিটা আছে।
Later, doctors confirm that the extreme heat and her naturally low blood pressure combined to trigger the episode. When she explains it afterward, she describes the moment the teleprompter vanished from her sight and everything went black. For viewers, it becomes a story about a newsreader covering a dangerous heat wave, while her own body reacts to the very conditions she is warning people about. It is January 17th, 2017. Outside the Antonio Dutra Ladera prison in Ribeirão das Neves, near Belo Horizonte, families of inmates stand gathered along the street. Inside the facility, there has been unrest and concern over conditions, and people outside are desperate for news. Reporter Larissa Carvalho is there to explain what is happening. She stands with a microphone in front of the prison entrance, describing the situation, overcrowding, fear among relatives, and a wider wave of trouble in Brazil's prison system at the time. As she speaks, tension in the crowd spills over. A woman breaks away from the group of relatives and rushes straight toward her. There is no warning, no build-up that anyone on camera can see. The woman collides with Larissa and knocks her to the ground. The force of the push sends her onto her back on the pavement. For a brief moment, the shot is filled with movement, uniforms, and confusion as people around them react. 2 police officers move in immediately. They grab the woman and pull her away from Larissa, separating the two and restraining the attacker. The scene is chaotic for a few seconds, and then the broadcast cuts away from the struggle. Larissa suffers a minor injury to her arm. She is checked and given time to recover, but soon after, she returns to air. She tells viewers that she is okay, that it was a scare, and that she was only lightly hurt before stepping back from the location. The woman is taken to a nearby police station and later released. Larissa files a report over what happened, and broadcasting groups publicly condemn the attack as an unacceptable response to press coverage. The incident becomes one more example of how fragile the line can be at tense scenes like this. It is July 26, 2022. In a London studio, Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak stand at their podiums, facing each other under bright debate lights. The Conservative leadership race has narrowed to these two, and this is one of the big televised showdowns. Kate McCann is moderating for Talk TV and The Sun. She has already steered questions on tax, spending, and party trust. The stakes are high, but the rhythm of the night feels familiar. Question, answer, follow-up, applause. Partway through, the camera is locked on Liz Truss. She is mid-answer, looking straight ahead as she talks about policy. Then, from somewhere off camera, there is a sudden, sharp crashing sound. Truss jumps and looks to the side.
People with you when they are suffering and things are likely to get worse.
Well, the cost of not doing anything to stand up to Vladimir Putin is immense. If he succeeds in Ukraine, he's not going to stop there. He's going to challenge the freedom and democracy.
She stiffens, eyes widening, and quickly says, "Oh my God," as she moves toward the direction of the noise. For viewers at home, nothing else is visible except her reaction and the startled silence that follows. What they cannot see is that Kate McCann has collapsed in the studio. Behind the camera's frame, the moderator has fainted at her podium. Production staff and people on set rush to her as the control room reacts. The broadcast cuts away almost immediately. The debate disappears from the screen and is replaced by a holding slide and then other programming. A short message explains that there has been a medical issue and that the live event cannot continue. Later that night, the channel confirms that Kate is okay. Talk TV says she fainted, that she has been checked by medical staff, and that the debate will not resume. The next evening, she is back on air, explaining that she is a little bruised and embarrassed, but fine. It is August 2018. At the Army 2018 Defense Exhibition near Moscow, rows of military vehicles, aircraft, and technology are on display. Officials, officers, and journalists move through the halls and outdoor stands, talking about new projects and equipment. Reporter Daria Kozlova is there for Russia 24. She stands beside Industry and Trade Minister Denis Manturov, holding a microphone as they discuss Russian technology and industrial cooperation. The interview is part of ongoing coverage from the event. At first, everything seems routine. She asks a question and listens to his answer with the cameras rolling. Around them, the exhibition continues, with people walking past and the background filled with banners and displays. Then, in the middle of the segment, something changes. Daria starts to look unsteady. Her speech softens and her posture shifts. She sways slightly where she stands, as if the heat and long hours are suddenly catching up with her. A moment later, she begins to fall. Her body tilts backward, and her legs no longer keep her upright. Manturov turns toward her, reaching out as she loses balance so she doesn't go straight to the floor. The broadcast does not show what happens next in full. As she starts to go down and the minister moves to support her, the live feed cuts away, returning control to the studio and leaving only a brief, abrupt glimpse of the collapse on air. Off camera, colleagues hurry to help. She is given water and checked over, and reports say she escapes with only minor injuries. Those close to the situation later point to fatigue, heat, and lack of food at the busy event as likely factors. In the days after, outlets note that she is recovering. The clip continues to circulate online as a reminder of how demanding live coverage can be. It is a cold evening in 2023. In Edmonton, people have gathered at an outdoor memorial, holding candles and signs as they quietly remember lives lost. Behind them, the winter sky is dim and the mood is heavy but calm. CTV reporter Jessica Robb is there to cover the event. She stands in front of the camera during a live newscast, talking to the anchor in the studio about why people have come out and what the night means to the families present. At first, everything sounds normal. She begins to describe the scene and the messages she's heard from those in attendance. Then she starts to stumble over her words. A sentence breaks apart halfway through, and she tries to begin again. Her body language shifts. She sways slightly where she's standing, her focus slipping as she looks more and more unsteady.
People we spoke with say they were happy that something is being done, but this is something that they've been asking for since day one. So for them, this is about 1,000 days too late. Now, Nariman, looking at after the day, families are pushing the feds to. Sorry, Nariman, I'm not feeling very well right now, and I'm about to.
Okay, well, come back to me right now, and we'll make sure that, Jessica, you are doing okay. Thank you. We will make sure that Jessica is okay. And we will give you guys an update a little bit later to make sure that she is doing all right. She is not alone. She is with...
Jessica says she doesn't feel well. Her voice trails off as she struggles to keep going. The effort to stay upright and finish the thought is visible on camera in those few seconds. The control room makes a quick decision. The live picture from the memorial disappears, and the broadcast cuts back to the studio. The anchor lets viewers know they will check on Jessica and move on with the rest of the program, while the crew focuses on her well-being. Later, the station issues an update. They thank viewers for their concern and explain that Jessica has experienced a medical episode, is now safe, and is recovering off camera. Jessica also reassures people that she is okay and appreciates the support. The clip continues to be shared as an example of how suddenly things can change on live television. Is the morning of January 3rd, 2022. In the TV Alterosa studio in Virginia, the lunchtime news show Alterosa Alerta Sul de Minas is on air. Viewers across the region see a familiar face, 36-year-old anchor Rafael Silva, usually known for presenting Jornal das Sete. He is standing in front of the camera, delivering the day's stories. The pace is quick but routine as he reads the headlines and moves from one subject to the next. Nothing in the first moment suggests anything out of the ordinary. Then, in the middle of a line, Rafael suddenly falters. His words stop, his posture shifts. In a split second, he looks unsteady, as if the strength has gone out of his legs while he is still trying to stay upright. He loses consciousness and drops out of frame.
A polícia militar foi chamada na zona rural de Ribeirão Vermelho. Sabe por quê?
Olá, muito boa tarde.
One moment he is visible behind the desk. The next, he has fallen from view in the studio. The image holds only for an instant before the control room switches away from the live shot. Off camera, the team reacts immediately. Colleagues rush to his side and call emergency services. A SAMU ambulance and local firefighters arrive at the station and take him to Hospital Humanitas for urgent care. Doctors there confirm he has had a serious heart episode. They report that he suffered cardiac arrest more than once before being stabilized in intensive care. Over time, his condition improves as treatment continues. In the days that follow, more details are shared. Rafael explains that specialists found a small structural problem in his heart, a mitral annular disjunction, and that he now has an implanted defibrillator to protect him from further events. It is November 19th, 2018. Inside a small studio in Eskişehir, the lights are bright and steady. Canal 26 is airing its local sports program, Spor Yorum, where presenter Şükrü Oytan and his co-host are discussing Eskişehirspor's latest match in Turkey's second division. The segment is calm and routine. Şükrü sits at the desk, going over the team's performance and the goals from the weekend. His co-presenter listens beside him, waiting to add his own analysis. Then Şükrü goes quiet. In the middle of a sentence, he pauses. His head lowers slowly until his forehead is resting against the desk. For a few seconds, he stays there, trying to steady himself. His co-host looks over, confused. He starts to stand, sensing something is wrong. Before he can reach him, Şükrü's balance gives way. He slips sideways off his chair and disappears from view, falling to the studio floor. The program cuts immediately. Staff off camera rush to help, and emergency services are called to the station. Paramedics arrive and take Şükrü to the hospital for urgent evaluation. The channel releases an update later that day. They explain that he has a heart rhythm condition and had a pacemaker fitted just days earlier. Doctors say what happened on air was a brief medical episode and that he is now stable and improving. It is a Saturday morning in March 2023. Los Angeles is waking up to the weekend. On KCAL's morning news, the anchors are chatting at the desk, ready to toss to the weather update for the day ahead. Meteorologist Alyssa Carlson Schwartz is waiting on the side of the set. The camera shifts to her as she prepares to introduce the forecast. She smiles and gets ready to start her segment, standing behind the weather desk under the studio lights. As she starts to speak, something looks off. Her expression changes and her eyes roll upward. She leans forward onto the desk in front of her, the motion slow, but clearly not part of the normal presentation. A second later, she collapses. Her body slumps forward and then drops out of frame.
And I'm Michelle Medina in for Sheba, who is ready for some sunshine. I know I am. Let's start off with a check of your next weather with meteorologist Alyssa Carlson. She joins us live in the studio. Alyssa, this really is the calm before the storm.
Not again. No. Oh.
You know, we're going to go ahead and go to break right now.
Yeah. We'll be right.
The station cuts away immediately. The broadcast goes to a break, and the anchors and crew move off camera to check on her and make sure she receives medical attention right away. Later that day, the station shares an update. They explain that Alyssa experienced a fainting episode on air, that she was treated, and that she is recovering. She also thanks viewers for their concern and reassures people that she is okay. It is a wet autumn night in late October 2023. In the London suburb of Mortlake, heavy rain has left streets shining under the streetlights. Water gathers in gutters and low spots, and trains and traffic are already feeling the effects of the weather. BBC reporter Harry Lowe is on the street to talk about it. He stands on the roadside in a residential area, explaining how the rain is affecting the neighborhood, puddles forming, drains working overtime, and people trying to move around as normal despite the downpour. While he is in the middle of his work, something happens just out of his view. The bag he brought with him, kept nearby while he focuses on the report, is quietly taken by someone passing through the area. There is no confrontation, no raised voices, only the sudden realization that the bag is no longer where it was a moment ago.
Going off, we've had alarms going off all day.
And Storm Kieran's on the way. From 6 p.m. on Wednesday, a yellow weather warning is in place for rain and wind, and that covers Kent, Surrey and
For a brief moment, he pauses. He gathers himself, then chooses to finish what he came to do, describe the rain and the local impact for viewers at home. The update on the flooding conditions continues, even with the distraction of what has just happened. Later, Harry explains what took place. He shares that his bag was taken halfway through the live piece and posts the moment as a career first, turning an uncomfortable experience into a small story about staying composed under pressure. The incident travels online as an example of how even a simple weather report on a quiet London street can suddenly change. One moment about rain and puddles, the next about a reporter realizing his belongings have disappeared while he is still on the job. Is June 16th, 2025. In Tehran, the situation is tense. Days of exchanges between Iran and Israel have already led to multiple strikes and alarms. Residents in parts of the city, including the area around the state broadcaster, have been warned to be ready for possible attacks. Inside the studios of Iran's state news channel, the schedule continues. Anchor Sahar Imami is on set for the Islamic Republic of Iran news network, reading the latest headlines. Behind her, the large video wall shows graphics and footage as she talks through the day's developments. Partway through the bulletin, everything changes. A powerful blast hits the broadcaster's complex. A deep, sudden boom is heard. The studio shakes, and dust and small debris begin to fall into the set. Voices can be heard in the background as people on the floor react to the impact and try to understand what has just happened. The program does not continue as normal. The on-air feed cuts away from the shaken studio. The live bulletin is replaced with other material as the building is checked and people are moved to safer areas. Outside, smoke and flames rise from the broadcaster's headquarters. The network reports that several bombs have struck the site, damaging the complex and injuring staff inside. Emergency crews and security forces converge on the area as part of the wider response to that day's attacks. Not long after, Sahar returns on air from a different location. She appears from another studio, continuing the news coverage and describing how the strike interrupted the broadcast. It is November 2022. In Doha, crowds are out along the Corniche as the World Cup begins. Fans walk the waterfront, waving flags, taking photos, and gathering around big screens and lights near the promenade. Argentinian reporter Dominique Metzger is there with her team. She holds a microphone and talks about the atmosphere, supporters from different countries, music in the background, and the sense of celebration in the streets. Her bag is with her as she moves and works among the crowd. At some point during this time in the busy area, she doesn't notice anything unusual. The live segment feels routine. People pass close by, stop briefly, then move on. There is nothing that clearly stands out in the moment as a problem. Only afterward does she realize something is wrong. When she checks her bag, her wallet is gone. Important documents, money, and cards that were inside are missing. The discovery turns what felt like a normal workday into a stressful situation far from home. She goes to the local authorities to report what happened. In her later account, she explains that she filed a complaint and that officers told her they would review security footage to identify whoever took her belongings. The incident becomes a widely shared example of how even in bright, crowded, celebratory spaces, a simple work assignment can suddenly shift, from covering the World Cup to dealing with the very real problem of having your personal items taken in a foreign city. It is early morning in March 2025. In Adelaide's Rundle Mall, the sky is still dim and the shops are closed. A crew from Channel 7's Sunrise program is on location. Reporter Hayden Nelson is there to talk about rising incident numbers at shopping centers in the city. The team sets up their gear before dawn. Lights are mounted on stands, the camera is placed in position, and cables run across the pavement. Nelson stands in the pedestrian strip, preparing to speak about crime statistics and concerns from retailers and workers. As they get ready, a man walks through the scene. He greets the reporter and cameraman in a casual way, then continues past them. Nothing about the interaction seems unusual, and the crew stays focused on the segment they're there to record. While their attention is on the job, the man takes his chance.
How brazen some of the crime is. This morning, during our last live cross about half an hour ago, someone came and took the light off our light stand. So normally we have about 3 lights here. They've just pulled that blatantly off and walked away with it. So any calls for security, any need for police, certainly made clear for us this morning.
He removes one of the lights from a stand, an expensive piece of broadcast equipment with the network's logo on it, and walks away with it. The stand remains in place. The missing light goes unnoticed in the moment. The segment finishes before anyone realizes what is gone. Only afterward, when the crew checks their setup, do they see the problem. One light is missing, and the team understands that someone has quietly taken it while they were working on a report about crime. Later, Hayden explains what happened on air. He describes how, during their last live cross, someone came and pulled the light off the stand and walked away, turning their own early morning assignment into a real example of the very issue they were discussing. South Australia police review the matter and release an image of a suspect. A man is eventually arrested and charged in connection with the theft, while the story spreads online as one more real-world moment where a simple live report took an unexpected turn. Of September 11, 2001, a passenger jet has already struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. Smoke pours from the upper floors. People inside the building and on the streets below are trying to understand what happened. While the city is still reacting to the first impact, a second plane approaches Manhattan. It comes in low and fast, banking toward the World Trade Center. At 9:03 a.m., it slams into the South Tower, cutting through the building and exploding on impact. Flames and debris burst outward from the South Tower. Fires now burn in both skyscrapers. People on the ground watch as smoke thickens and spreads across the sky. Emergency services race toward Lower Manhattan from every direction. Inside the towers, conditions worsen by the minute. Stairwells and elevator shafts are damaged. Heat and smoke build on the upper floors. Many people begin evacuating down dark, crowded stairwells, while others remain trapped above the impact zones. At 9:59 a.m., the South Tower begins to fail. The upper section starts to fall, and the building collapses down onto itself. In seconds, the entire structure is gone, replaced by a massive cloud of dust and debris that surges through the surrounding streets. The North Tower is still standing, but it is badly damaged and on fire. Rescue workers, police, and firefighters continue trying to reach people in and around the building. The area around the complex is covered in dust, wreckage, and abandoned vehicles. At 10:28 a.m., the North Tower also collapses. Its upper floors give way, and the building comes down, sending another enormous cloud of dust and debris into the air. The skyline of Lower Manhattan is changed in a single morning. By the end of the day, both towers are gone. Thousands of people are dead or missing. The surrounding buildings are damaged, streets are buried in debris, and emergency crews work through the chaos, beginning a rescue and recovery effort that will last for months.
Center an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
The top floors collapsed down. I saw it blow and then ran like hell. Thank God. I'm 69, but I can still run. There's got to be firemen trapped back there, though.
The attacks on the World Trade Center become one of the defining events of modern history. 2 planes, 2 towers, and a few hours that reshaped the world. It is February 1st, 2003. Space Shuttle Columbia is returning to Earth after a 16-day mission. 7 astronauts are on board, following a standard re-entry path toward a planned landing in Florida. During launch, a piece of insulating foam came off the external tank. It struck the leading edge of the shuttle's left wing, damaging part of the thermal protection system. The impact was noted during the mission, but the full risk was not fully understood at the time. As Columbia re-enters the atmosphere over the western United States, the shuttle heats up. Superheated air flows around the vehicle as it descends at very high speed. Because of the earlier damage, some of that hot gas is able to enter through a breach in the left wing. Inside the wing, temperatures and stresses rise. Structural components begin to weaken. Sensors in the wing and landing gear area start to fail as the heat spreads and the damage grows. Over Texas, the shuttle begins to break apart. Sections of the left wing and other pieces of the orbiter separate in flight. Columbia loses stability and disintegrates high in the sky, scattering fragments along its path. This clip comes from an onboard camera recorded by the STS-107 crew as Columbia passed over the Central Pacific. The footage runs right up to the moment before Mission Control lost contact with the shuttle.
Do you see over my shoulder, Laura?
I was feeling it doesn't show up nearly as much as the back.
It's going pretty good now. And it's really neat. It's a bright orange yellow out over the nose, all around the nose.
Where do you start seeing the swirl patterns? That's your, like left or right? Alright, we're at 100th of a G.
This is amazing. It's really getting really bright out there.
Yep. Yeah, you definitely don't want to be outside now.
Like we did before.
I look out the back, Laura.
Good point.
Yeah. I can see you in your mirror.
Not yet?
Now I can.
Debris falls along a long corridor across East Texas and into Louisiana. People on the ground see bright streaks crossing the sky. Wreckage from the orbiter lands in fields, forests, and small communities across the region. There are no survivors from the crew. All 7 astronauts on board are lost in the incident. Search teams, local residents, and officials spend weeks recovering material and evidence across a wide area. An investigation concludes that the foam strike and wing breach led directly to the loss of Columbia. Hot gas entering the wing during re-entry caused the structural failure. The shuttle fleet is grounded, and NASA makes major safety changes before flights resume. It is April 15th, 2013. Runners are approaching the finish of the Boston Marathon on Boylston Street. Spectators line the sidewalks, pressed against metal barriers. Many are waiting for friends and family to cross the line. Late in the race, the area near the finish is still busy. Volunteers work the chute, runners come through in small groups, and people on the sidewalk clap, talk, and lean over the railings to watch the final stretch. Then, a powerful blast erupts near the finish area. A sudden flash and wave of pressure hits the crowd. Smoke rises from the right side of the street, close to the barriers and storefronts. People nearby are knocked off balance, and some fall to the ground. Seconds later, a second blast occurs further along Boylston. Another column of smoke climbs above the street. The calm of the finish line vanishes. Runners stop, turn back, or move sideways. Spectators scatter, some trying to help those who are down. The street quickly fills with injured people and responders. Race officials, volunteers, police, and bystanders move toward the sidewalk. Barriers are lifted or pushed aside to reach those closest to the blasts. Makeshift bandages and stretchers appear as people use clothing and available materials to help. Emergency services converge on the scene. Ambulances, fire crews, and additional officers arrive and begin organizing treatment and transport. Parts of downtown Boston are shut down as the area around Boylston Street is sealed off. In the hours that follow, it is confirmed that several people at the finish line have lost their lives, and many others have serious injuries. Hospitals across the city receive a surge of patients. The marathon, which began as a celebration of endurance and community, ends under heavy security and investigation. Over the days that follow, authorities identify 2 brothers as responsible for placing the devices. A massive search unfolds in and around Boston, ending with one brother losing his life during a confrontation and the other taken into custody after a manhunt. The events at the finish line leave a lasting mark on the city. Each year after, Boston remembers that day with memorials, moments of silence, and a renewed focus on safety and resilience around one of its most famous races. Is the night of July 15th, 2016. In Ankara, unusual movements of troops and aircraft are already being noticed. Rumors of a possible takeover are spreading, and key locations across the capital are coming under pressure. At the headquarters of Turkey's public broadcaster, TRT, events move quickly. Armed soldiers enter the building and take control of the corridors and studios. Staff members are gathered together, their hands restrained, and told not to use their phones or speak out of turn. News anchor Tijan Karash is among them. She is separated from the group and brought into a studio, told she will read a statement on behalf of a group calling itself the Peace at Home Council. She later explains that this happens under direct threat, with no freedom to refuse or edit a single word. When she appears on screen, she is not there by choice. She sits upright at the news desk and begins to read the prepared text.
Gaflet, dalalet ve hatta hıyanet içerisinde olan Cumhurbaşkanı ve hükümet yetkilileri tarafından temel hak ve hürriyetler zedelenmiş, kuvvetler ayrılığına dayalı laik ve demokratik hukuk düzeni fiilen ortadan kaldırılmıştır. Devletimiz uluslararası ortamda hak ettiği itibarını yitirmiş ve evrensel temel insan haklarının
The statement announces that the armed forces have taken control of the country's administration, that martial law has been declared, and that a new order is being imposed. Her expression tells a different story than the words. Viewers can see that she is tense and unsettled. Later, she will say that people watching could see the fear in her eyes and the way her lips trembled as she delivered the message that had been placed in front of her. Once the statement is finished, TRT does not continue as normal. Programming is cut, and the channel goes off air for a time. Outside the building, police and civilians gather and push to retake the broadcaster from the soldiers holding it. Forces loyal to the government eventually reclaim the complex. The soldiers inside are overpowered, and the staff are released from the rooms where they were being held. The channel resumes broadcasting, this time under the control of its regular personnel. When Tijan Karash returns in front of the cameras, her role is completely different. She tells viewers that she had been held against her will, that she read the earlier declaration under threat, and that the words spoken during the coup attempt did not represent her own views. The moment becomes one of the defining images of that night. A news anchor compelled to present a takeover message on behalf of a group of officers, and then later explaining to the same country that what they saw was not a normal broadcast, but a hostage reading under pressure.